Odysseus and the Cyclops. Odysseus and his men were on a long journey home. They were returning from their victory at the Battle of Troy when they spotted an island in the distance. They headed towards it in search of food and water. The island was home to the Cyclops, who were children of the gods. They were a race of giants with one big eye right in the center of their forehead, and their reputation was fearsome. But Odysseus and his crew had no idea, and set out to search their new surroundings. While they travelled through the island, they saw flocks of huge goats, and came across a large cave in the side of a mountain. The cave was filled with milk and cheeses and piles of wool. The crew wanted to take as much as they could carry and head back to the ship as quickly as possible. But Odysseus wished to see the shepherd who owned such a cave. He decided they would wait until the shepherd had returned. As night began to fall, the Cyclops Polyphemus returned home, herding his goats ahead of him. He pulled a huge rock in front of the entrance of the cave. Polyphemus was truly a giant, twice as tall and twice as wide as any man. His single eye peered into the cave and spotted the crowd of men. Odysseus was not afraid, and boldly greeted the giant, praising his work and asking for his hospitality. But Polyphemus just laughed, and, without warning, he picked up 2 of Odysseus's men and gobbled them up whole. The rest of the crew scattered to the back of the cave, while the giant closed his eyes and went to sleep. Odysseus had a dilemma. He had to escape with his crew, but they could never move the giant rock covering the entrance. They must wait until the Cyclops had moved it, so they tried to get some sleep. In the morning, the Cyclops moved the boulder from the cave, but carefully watched the goats to make sure none of the men could leave. Once all the goats were outside, he blocked the door again, trapping the men inside. But Odysseus was famous for his cunning, and he told the men the plan he had made. When Polyphemus returned with his flock in the evening, Odysseus offered the Cyclops some very strong wine, which he drank down greedily, every last drop. "What is your name, man?" the Cyclops asked Odysseus, pleased with his gift. "My name is Nobody," said Odysseus. "I like you, Nobody," the Cyclops laughed. "I shall eat you last." And then he fell into a deep sleep. The first part of the plan was complete. Odysseus set his men to sharpening a large stick in the fire. Then they took it up, took careful aim, and struck the giant in the eye. Polyphemus jumped up, yelling in pain. Another Cyclops heard his cries and came to the door of his cave. What has happened, Polyphemus? Who is hurting you?" he asked. Nobody is hurting me. Nobody has blinded me," Polyphemus cried. The Cyclops outside the cave was confused and left, thinking that the gods must be involved. Polyphemus moved the boulder from the door of the cave and ran his hands along the backs of each goat that went through the door to make sure that none of the men would escape. But Polyphemus did not know of Odysseus's plan. He and all of his men clung to the bellies of the goats and were able to escape out of the cave and back to the ship. They set off as fast as they could out into the sea. Hearing the cries of Polyphemus from the shore, Odysseus shouted out, "It was not Nobody who blinded you and tricked you, but I, Odysseus." But I do hope his boasting doesn't get him into even more trouble, don't you?
The staff of Dundrum Library would like to introduce you to Shadow Theatre. Shadow play is an ancient form of storytelling that uses cut-out figures that are held between a source of light and a flat surface. All items can be found around the house or in your recycling bin. Parchment or greaseproof paper is a must. Draw a border the width of your ruler around the flat piece of card cut from your box. Then cut around the inside line as shown in the video. You now have a frame shape. Place this frame shape down on the parchment paper and draw around it. Lift the frame shape up and cut around the outer line as shown on the parchment paper. Turn the rest of the cereal box inside out. Place your frame shape in the large centre piece as shown. Draw around the inside line of the frame. Cut out the inside square as shown. Next we will assemble our stage. To do this we will have to cut a triangle into the corners of the box. Watch the video carefully to see which corners are being cut away. This is your opportunity to go crazy with colour, an opportunity to colour your stage and make it your own. Now it is time to fit our screen or parchment paper to our stage. Last thing left to do is to fold over the corners and stick together with sellotape, so our stage will stand up. This is only a guide. You can use any box, any size, any shape, a picture frame. Look on the internet and see what other people are doing. Just use your imagination. How about taking it outdoors? Use your window as the stage, a roller blind as the screen, and the room light as your backlighting. And off you go. Sky's the limit. Now for the most important part, the shadow puppets. Stick with us for just a little bit longer. Take your images from the internet, magazines, colouring books, whatever. By now you have heard the amazing story of Odysseus and the Cyclops. This comes from a very, very old poem called the Odyssey, written by a man called Homer. The shadow puppets I am making today are based on the main characters from that story. If you like the story of Odysseus and the Cyclops, you will absolutely love the Odyssey. But hold on to your hats and glasses, it is filled with rip-roaring and sometimes terrifying adventures. Cut around your images and stick onto your strong paper. Then cut around the images again. You will now have a very strong shadow puppet that will not fall over. Now you need to stick a wand or a stick to the back of your puppet. If you're using a stick, stick it at the bottom of the puppet. I have used long strips of card. Now we are ready to set the stage up. Use the light from a torch, light from a mobile phone or a lamp behind your stage to backlight your puppets. Put your stage up in front of your puppets. Make sure your stage is secure and it doesn't fall over. Get low and put your puppets in front of the light. Make sure your head or your hands are not in front of the light. Let the magic begin. This is my story about a boy named Odysseus who sailed around ancient Greece in a boat with his friends, how he encountered a terrifying Cyclops and how he escaped from the Cyclops' cave before he and his best friends became the Cyclops' dinner, and how they sailed away and lived happily ever after. Thank you for watching. We hope this encourages you all to get creative. Storytelling is fun, and Shadow Theatre gives you a great opportunity to retell all the wonderful stories that you will hear during the Right to Read campaign. We invite you to stay with us, listen, re-listen, and retell. Recreate, have fun. The sky is the limit. Your imagination knows no bounds.